Well, Sabbath greetings to everyone. I hope you've had a magnificent week. It's been a really good week here in Sussex, very different for me. I had a week pretty much by myself. Of course, I had Tommy here with me, so he and I were bachelors this week, and we're trying to take care of things here. And so it's been a fairly productive week. I've gotten quite a bit done. It's a little bit difficult, as many of you know, when your family's out of town, and especially for any kind of extended time at all, but a whole week is, I don't do so well. I want my family home, and as we speak, they're on their way home. It's obviously well before the Sabbath right now, but I just heard from her not too long ago, and as it turns out, we had Mac evidently got sick on the way very early in the trip, but his was, fairly, it was messy, but it was pretty quickly over with. And then by the time my wife had called back, Jamie had come down with it, what could be pretty much the same thing. I guess there was a little bit of flu going around the camp there at the end, and so possibly some of my kids might have picked that up, and so we'll have to see how things progress here. But Jamie was, it was going to be a rough trip the rest of the way home for them. I think they still had several hours to go whenever I last talked to my wife. So if you're listening to this early, would appreciate your prayers for them and their continued trip home here, and that everyone will be healed rather supernaturally and quickly. They're getting back here. I'd love to have them all at services with me in Milwaukee, but we'll have to see how things go and see if God chooses to intervene very, very quickly. That would be wonderful. Otherwise, we certainly don't want to put anybody else at risk, so we'll have to see how things go there. But, I was just thinking, here it is, the 4th of July, celebrating the country's independence. Usually is, a very patriotic day, and as it should be. It's, we live in the greatest nation on the face of the planet in many ways. It's a nation that has been blessed by God. And this 4th of July is really a good time to really think about that, the blessings of God. It's not by any human strength or human, intelligence or extra special intelligence, anything like that. This nation has clearly been blessed, as have so many of the Israelite nations. And so they're being blessed because of the obedience of one man, Abraham. And so we know that we have all the blessings, but we know that this country is certainly not what it used to be. It's very quickly deteriorating in morality, and practically every other facet of this society is going downhill, unfortunately, and it's sad to see that. But the 4th of July has always been a very, I've always loved the 4th of July. I love the fireworks and all that. And, of course, it's landing on Friday night, so I won't be participating in that. I'm sure I'll hear him going off all night long around here. Thankfully, Tommy doesn't get spooked by that sort of thing, because I've already heard him last night. There were quite a few of them, too. But it's always been a great time. But here I am on the 4th of July. I'm here at home all by myself. And it got me to thinking about something. I really was thinking a little bit about the concept of loneliness. Here I've spent just 1 week by myself. Of course, had a dog here, so even that really helps. You've got somebody else in the house, something else in the house to talk to and to, I guess, share time with in that sense. But it's not the same, of course. To be alone in the sense of just feeling that lonely feeling, just loneliness, and how difficult that must be. I'm in a unique position here where I get a lot of calls from a lot of different people, and I have several that many of you have never met. I don't know if you'll ever meet them, but there's several that I talk to, and actually quite fairly often, that are individuals out there, many of them even widows, those that, they know our work. Perhaps they have some understanding of what we believe and teach, but, they've contacted me, and I've talked to them, and I get the feeling sometimes that more so than just being called, they're just lonely. And so, some of them just have very, very little understanding, but yet, I try to spend time with them as much as I can. Of course, I have to make my priorities on those of the household of faith, but I do try to spend some time with those folks and encourage them, and because it's hard to be alone. It really is. And especially, apart from God's Holy Spirit and apart from that special connection that we have with God, and especially by having Christ living in us, in that sense we're never alone. We have Christ in us, and that's the hope of glory, of course. But I just saw this quote. I thought it was interesting. It said, "At the innermost core, all loneliness is a deep and powerful yearning for union with one's lost self." That sounds a little, I don't know, psychoanalytic or something, but I was thinking about that. The innermost core of all loneliness is a deep and powerful yearning for union with one's lost self. And so I think in one way, if we can come to understand who we are better, even those that are alone in that sense, we don't have to be lonely. And so what I try to encourage some of these individuals that I speak with that aren't in the church, I try to point them to, obviously it's my job, but I try to point them to a relationship with God and say, listen, if you're feeling down, if you're feeling that you're lonely or you don't know where you fit in or whatever the case may be, the solution to that is to seek after God. Seek after God and find a relationship with Him, and He brings purpose to life. He brings purpose to life whenever we understand that we don't have to be lost in that sense. We all have a tremendous purpose. A tremendous purpose. We're going to live forever. And of course, even these individuals I'm talking to, I look forward to a time when they will fully engage in, whether or not God is calling them or not, I don't know, but sometimes I just get the sense that they're lonely. They're looking for something. They just don't know what. And so it leaves them with a sort of a sense of loneliness. And, of course, we don't like to be alone. Ecclesiastes 4, 9, and 10, 2 are better than one, because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, one will lift up his companion. But woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him up. And so, we want to take special care to serve those that have that type of need. Maybe they're lonely. We've got singles out there. We have widows out there. We have people out there that need that companionship and need to be encouraged and need, calls and or letters or what am I looking for? Yeah, I already said that. Cards and letters or calls to let them know that they're being thought about, that they're cared for. That's very important that we do that. We don't want anybody to feel that sense of not having someone there to pick them up if they fall. That's important that we try to provide that for them. In 2 Corinthians 1, verse 3, "Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies and God of all comfort." Those that are lonely need comforted. And he said in verse 4 here, Paul says, "Who comforts us in all our tribulation." God is the God of all comfort. But He can speak through us. He can use us as instruments in His hands to be that comforting force in someone else's life. But He does certainly comfort us in all our tribulation, that we may be able to comfort those who are in any trouble with the comfort with which we ourselves are comforted by God. See, those that already feel that comfort and feel that sense of belonging, and maybe there's family involved or whatever, sometimes it's easier to say, well, I'm taken care of, I've got everything I need, I've got my family, got my kids, it's all good. But we forget God has comforted us by providing us with that companionship and the family that we have. But we must not, because we've received that comfort, we can extend that comfort and that help and service in that way. Extend that to those that are lonely and those who need comforted through tribulations and comfort through trials and tests. And that's something we certainly need to be aware of and try to do as often as we can. Of course, James 1:27 says, "Pure and undefiled religion before God and the Father is this, to visit orphans and widows in their trouble, and to keep oneself unspotted from the world. So that's pure religion, to provide that kind of comfort, to not let people get, too lonely, to be aware of that. Of course, we can't be responsible for everyone else's loneliness, but what I'm saying is we have to be there as a soft place to land, someone who can reach out and comfort those that may be in need of some special comfort or special encouragement. So let's try to do that. Let's try to do everything we can to practice that type of religion before God. So those are my thoughts for this 4th of July. I hope you're having a great 4th of July, and I hope you have a tremendous Sabbath wherever you plan on keeping it. We'll be in Milwaukee. We are going to have a Spokesman's Club in Milwaukee, so we'll have a special opportunity there, and then, of course, Sabbath services. So I look forward to seeing everyone in Milwaukee, and the rest of you will be making the rounds, I might say, very soon, and we'll see the rest of you in the weeks ahead. I love you all. I hope you have a tremendous Sabbath. Take care, and we'll talk again soon.